the universal creative strength will. The only truly potent force that you have is your will. It's what most of us less understand. But all we see around us, social conditions, personal relationships, was called into existence by the will. As we move through the intense changes of this decade, we will hear more and more about the will. What it really is, and what is the difference between the will of God/Source and the human will. How do we know when we are in accordance with the will of him/her? When the will of God expression appears in our daily life, it's probably to cover situations ranging from a natural disaster to the death of a child, from winning to losing a war. If we cannot explain what happens, then it must be the will of God. When the image of a deity out there is hovering in the collective mind, it is not far from the ancient gods of the mountain and the river. The will of this deity brings fear. We fear that sooner or later, it will require sacrifices. We suspect that it is taking note and that at any moment our mistakes will be revealed and punished. How to live so that she reward us, or maybe even in the note. Many loving and intelligent people prefer to discard any idea of a transcendent divine will as utopian projection or pure superstition. No wonder, therefore, that these people know that the concept God is love simply does not match the will of God, which seems so indifferent to human suffering. Probably never match, while we think that God's will is exercised in relation to us, not by us. We will have difficulty accepting that there is really a loving God behind all the chaos we see. Is there even a transcendent plan, a blueprint for planet Earth? During times of rapid change, as now, many people have symbolic visions of what appears to be a plan that becomes clearer through dreams, visions, intuition. We are in the process of co-creating this new world, and that it will be a world characterized by creativity, without iniquity, without violence. But to get to that point, from where we are, we have first to go through the explosions. Many people are having similar impressions of the world that is to emerge from the darkness and dangerous passage where we are now. The message of all of them is that we should firmly hold on to a vision of our world in ecological balance, racial, economic, social and political. This world will come into being through us. If we cannot know the whole plan, each of us should at least know your role in it. It is not a secret that others can unravel for us. We carry within ourselves. The divine gene that carries our cosmic DNA includes our plan for this life. All we really need to turn it on is what a 14th century writer called the living longing for God. The whole journey of transformation concerns really the discovery of our true identity and our will. Subjection to the superior will. Most of us get a little confused when you hear phrases such as "submit your will to God." Of course, that's what we ended up doing when we wake up to what we are. But also intuitively we know that the will is important for survival, and submission annihilation sounds very similar. Superficially speaking, undergo really looks like death to self. But in fact, submit ourselves to the highest will rescue our true identity. Try replacing the highest will, look for the will of God. The concept of submission will get a new color when we feel that we are giving a little self in terms of a higher self who is connected with God/Source. In a lot of help addicts programs such as Alcoholics Anonymous and its subsidiary, the Adult Children of Alcoholics, the road to rediscovery begins to admit that we have no control over the addiction and we must submit to a higher power to help us. Liberated from the strict controls of the lower ego will, we recognize that it is limited to subjugate our vices. It is the higher will within us that has the power to transform an addiction, a habit. This is as true for an emotional addiction as for an addiction acquired through chemical. The higher will act as a channel that comes from God and goes to God. When hard ego controls are overcome, the real power takes over. We are made in God's image, and the higher will is very close to its essence. The gift of the will makes us creators. As we continue to talk, to wish, to form images and direct our thoughts, we reinforce the structure of the project to be able to take form on the physical plane. Really are individuals. We use this divine birthright to create from our will. But when concrete things begin to appear, we left complaining, who did this disorder? Swimming in the energy river. Things do not happen for free. They are born thanks to the conscious or unconscious will of the people, groups, or all kinds, even by the interaction of our species to the will of other areas of nature. We know that everything in the universe vibrates. All the trillions of cells that make up our individual biosphere are in a constant rate of movement. According to the appearance of all its constituent material, nothing is static. Follow the trail of the materials, even the densest, to their molecular parts, and there they are, dancing according to a pace never seen. The space between all the atoms in our body is a hologram of the spaces between the stars, all connected, all in a state of constant readiness. This is because the space that interconnects is the means by which all living and vibrant things, from a planet to a thought, send your message to the whole universe. Moving inward, sideways, up, down and through the whole space, there is a cosmic energy flowing river. This energy has been identified and received many names and in many languages: Kai in Chinese, Ki in Japanese, Prana in Sanskrit, Ruach in Hebrew, and Mana Polynesian, just to mention a few. In the West, of course, it has received names that sound a lot like scientific terms, such as odic force and organ energy. It is always the same energizing stuff of life. This river of energy can be used to enliven anything at any frequency. It can give life to a thought, a feeling, a physical body. However, the project is already set. This energy will bring it to life. And as soon as the project does not do more necessary, or is carried out and disappears, the energy will flow back to the river. And it can be accumulated, harnessed, adapted, expanded or reduced, but cannot be destroyed. If the design of a body, a thought or desire is clear and has no locks, this energy will flow through it unhindered and intended reach fulfillment. If, however, the design is locked, committed or is ambivalent, then the energy will increase the distortion. We have to decide what to do with it because, anyway, we are responsible for what they bring to life with her. Once we passed by the impact of realizing we were carefully building our own world, and we did it together, the following perception will be that the power to create new ways is unlimited. The will to exist. What is the force that channels the energy of the river into the cells of trees, another living being, or the molecular structure of rocks? What is that, first, motivates them to exist? A seed? A pattern? Of course yes. But there is more. There is the will to exist. Without that will, energy is released again to the universal flow. Remove the desire to anything, and that thing die. This is true both for emotion and for a physical body. If you decide to withdraw the will of hatred, resentment and fear, these emotions will die a natural death for lack of power to support them. The key word is choice. And we make those choices all the time. The Dr. Viktor E. Frankl, a psychiatrist and Jewish philosopher, was arrested by the Nazis during World War II. In his book, Man's Search for Meaning, The Quest for Meaning Man, he noted that even in the most degraded of all possible conditions in a Nazi concentration camp, even devoid of simple dignity and unable to change the events, people continued to make choices. Strutting unbearable, some people ascended to the nobility, sharing things with each other and taking an interest in them, finding inner peace amid the madness. They could not change the events, but they could choose how to react to them. We cannot just freeze up and say we will not do, we will not think or do not feel anything in particular situation. This is a choice, alone energizes our fear. We can always decide to choose the status quo. However, we can also make the choice of new plans, giving birth to new desires, think new thoughts, say new words. History will repeat itself as we continue to build from the bottom will that separates us from God/Source and other men. The Inquisition, the Holocaust, Hiroshima, the persecution of Christians, all the horrors of our history are humanity's alienation theme variations in relation to its spiritual origins. When we create from the bottom will, only in order to satisfy the greed, our best works fall away ahead of time with the same ease as the sand castles crumble to the sea invasion. But when we hear our deepest impulses, which originate from the superior will, we are creating from a model that seems to be much broader than our own. We become co-creators together with the universe, bringing to the physical realm new sounds, symbols, concepts, discoveries and inventions that enrich us all. Such creations are beautiful, and they persist because they provide good at all. Through the ages, the masters have been teaching us the way, regardless of culture and religion. They tell us that if we want to understand God's will, we must look within ourselves, that our origin is divine and we were literally created in the image of God. Many people suffered persecution over the centuries because they discovered this truth and talked about it. In the old days it was called blasphemy. Depending on the model of reality in use, the charges range from personal disappointment and arrogance to presume, including that old bugaboo, demonic possession. We got to think that we were scared of the inherent responsibility to live up to our divine potential. It is easier to blame the events in the forces that are outside of us, or in a state of frustration, want to say that there is no intelligence running the show. This allows us to perpetuate the illusion that we have nothing to do with the chaos of our personal lives, nothing to do with all the changes, and even less with the madness that exists on the planet. However, when we align ourselves with the one will, we are behaving as agents for the implementation of this will on earth. Will is our innate, sacred right. Just as the sunshine is the sun, so we are to the source of all life. The light source that is within each of us, no matter how weak it may seem sometimes. There was never a time when we did not exist as part of the whole. Nor will there be time when we will not be part of the whole. We have lost this sense of wholeness when confer authority to the lower will, and return to full when transfer authority to the superior will. We carry both inside us all the time. It is not a question of denying, to repress and subjugate the lower will. It is a matter of choosing which one will be in charge of our lives. The top will cover the lower will and work through it, and not otherwise. The higher will within us choose the circumstances of our birth. She is interested in the growth of the soul and its return to the unit. Pain and disappointment are seen as a growth opportunity as important as success and pleasure. The bottom will often make choices that are good for the ego and face pain and disappointment as mere failure. The bottom will tend to see a limited universe. It seeks external symbols of success to give validity to itself. She feels the need to control. God/Source is designed as a separate entity from I, an entity to which we have to beg, to plead, and even to ask favors. If the lower self cannot what you want, he believes that prayers were not answered. He lives in fear. The top will view a universe of unlimited abundance, a universe in which there are many resources for everyone. Living in unity with God/Source, it directs you to everything you need. She does not see the universe as a reluctant supplier. Instead, it makes use of knowledge and wisdom instrument, living in faith that everything is unfolding in perfect order. She lives life fully, making choices from an inner guidance, not outside. She lives in love. A person living in the lower area will is neither good nor bad, is only dormant and has an immature understanding of things. But before we can begin submitting the lower will to the higher, we have to know, first, that our will has the ability to create. The gift of free will allows us to explore our abilities to create, and when we are ready to give up the bottom will on behalf of the top, do it as fully conscious beings, not like sleepwalkers. There was a time we were aware that we were living in total unity with the source. Our myths remind us that time, we call it paradise, home. In the story of the fall, the ego usurped the will and it has used as its own validation vehicle. Unfortunately, as we become more civilized, we deepened the split, and the spirit has become the enemy of the flesh. While we love the earth, we struggle with it as the prison of our spirits. Light team is invincible,